Hello learners, myself Dr. Sucharita Bhattacharya from Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata, the subject teacher of physics, once more welcome you all in my lecture series on electromagnetic theory for physics 2. The lecture I am delivering for third semester BTech course and the streams I am considering are computer science and engineering and information technology. Today, I am going to deliver lecture 7 of my lecture series. Now, what we are going to deliver today? Actually, in the last class, we have started the module 4.02 of the submodule 4.02 of the module 4, the electromagnetic theory in the form of magnetostatics. Total number of lectures in magnetostatics are 3. So today's lecture is the second lecture session. Okay. So in today's lesson, what we are delivering, Biot-Savart's law, comparison between electrostatics and magnetostatics. Then I will go for non-existence of magnetic monopole, a very, very important phenomenon, and the nature of the magnetic field. Naturally, the questionnaires which will be addressed today in the form of my lesson plan is what is source of magnetic field? The first one, the source of magnetic field. Then I will discuss about the Biot-Savart's law. What is Biot-Savart's law? Next, we will compare the electrostatic field and the magnetostatic field. Next, whether magnetic monopole exists, we will search for the answer, though we know that there is non-existence of magnetic monopole. How we are concluding that, we will try to address that. And then we will go for physical significance of the fact that there is magnetic monopole is not existing. After that, I will go for few university questions. So this is my today's lesson plan. Let us now move to the origin of magnetic field, the first portion. Okay. Now, in the last class, we have gone through the magnetic field. That means we defined there the magnetic field and how to get it. Those things we have done, and then we have used there the in the last class we have actually introduced B in the form of a force, in the form of a force that we that is the Lorentz force. And today, let us now try to get how B is produced. Apart from permanent magnet, electromagnet, we know B can be produced by a moving charge, that is electric current. That means in the last class, we got that impression that B can be produced by moving charge, that is electric current. In the last class, we have found that magnetic field is produced due to current carrying conductor. I think all of you can remember. Experimental study shows that the steady electric current produces magnetostatic field. Even magnetic field produced by a permanent magnet can also be represented as a simple current distribution. That means magnetic field is produced by a moving charge, that is current. So far we know that. And also we have discussed in the last class that B is defined in terms of a force it exerts on a moving charge. B is defined in terms of a force exerts on a moving charge. Naturally, magnetic field at a point due to current carrying conductor should be the sum of the magnetic field at that point due to each moving charges in the conductor, because we all know that in any conductor infinite number of point charges exist as the charge carrier. That means magnetic field at a point due to current carrying conductor, if produced, must be the sum of the magnetic field at that point due to each moving charges in the conductor. And as magnetic field is a vector quantity, so you have to do the vector sum for infinite number of moving charges in the conductor. It is really very difficult to calculate the magnetic field in that way due to each moving charge and then to add them vectorially. So it is better to consider the current carrying conductor to be divided into a large number of, but finite, into a large number of infinitesimal small parts, into a large number of infinitesimal small parts known as the current element. So, in place of a point charge, it is better to consider the current carrying conductor to be divided into a large number of infinitesimal small parts known as the current element. Bio and Severt carried out number of experiments to determine the factors on which magnetic field at a point due to such current element depends. So, Bio and Savard for the first time tried to carry out the experiments with the current element and to determine the factors on which the magnetic field produced by the current element depends. Their results are summed up in the form of all important Biot-Savart's law, and sometimes it is called the Laplace's law because also Laplace arrived at the same conclusion but from different perspective. Biot-Savart's law, mind it, is sometimes called the Laplace's law because also Laplace reached at the same conclusion but though from the different perspective. Okay. So, how B is produced? So, we know that it is from current. Now, how to visualize the current to produce the magnetic field? It appears that the point charges we can use that each moving charge carrier inside the conductor, their magnetic field production, if we sum up, we can get it, but it is really a difficult, very, very difficult task. So better to divide the current carrying conductor or current into a large number of small current elements, and in the form of that, try to find out the magnetic field, what Bio and Severt did. So let us now move into that part. What about Biot-Savart's law? From Biot-Savart's law, we will get the magnetic field or the induction vector expression. Magnetic field or induction vector expression means it is a B. So for that purpose, as per the prescription of Bio and Savart, let us consider a thin curved wire. This is a thin curved wire carrying a current I. You can say in general conductor, thin curved conductor of arbitrary shape carrying a current I. Now, according to Biot-Savart's law, it is found that magnetic induction dB at P due to a small current element AB of length dl is proportional to some factors. What about that? It is found that dB at the point P is proportional, directly proportional to dl, the length of the any current element, say AB. It is directly proportional to current I. It is directly proportional to current I. It is directly proportional to sine theta, where theta is the angle between the current element and the position vector of the point P, that is R. Theta is the angle made between the current element and the position vector of the point P with respect to the current element. So directly dB directly proportional to I, directly proportional to dl, and directly proportional to sine of theta. It is also found to be proportional inversely to r squared, inversely proportional to r squared. So by combining all these factors, Bio and Savart finally found that dB, the magnetic field or induction produced by a small current element dl, is proportional to I dl sine theta by r square by considering all the factors I dl sine theta by r square. Now, if we want to write it or express it vectorially, how to write it? Obviously, b will be replaced by the vector sign, that is the bold letter, proportional to I dl sine theta, and there we have to incorporate r cap. R cap, the unit vector along the direction of r to convert a scalar into a vector. Now, r cap unit vector means r vector by mod r. R cap unit vector means r vector by mod r. That's why we are writing this expression as I dl cross r by r cube, because dl cross r means dl r sine theta, that we are getting here, dl sine theta. And from r cap, if you convert it to vector, you will get the r vector by magnitude of r in the denominator. That's why vectorially we can use it as, replace it as I dl cross r by r cube equal to k I dl cross r by r cube, where k is the constant of proportionality. Obviously, k is the constant of proportionality. So, the Biot-Savart's law now taking the shape in the form of dB equal to mu naught by 4 pi I dl cross r by r cube, where k is found out to be mu naught by 4 pi. The constant of proportionality in SI system is expressed as mu naught by 4 pi, where mu naught equal to 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 Henry per meter is the free space permeability. So it is the magnetic property. It is the magnetic property of the system, or the rather the medium or the material. Here we are considering for the free space unless otherwise specified. So we are introducing the magnetic property in the form of mu naught, where mu naught is related to the constant of proportionality as mu naught equal to 4 pi k in SI system, and the value of mu naught equal to 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 Henry per meter. So permeability of free space, that is the magnetic property we are introducing. So finally, the Biot-Savart's law take the form dB equal to mu naught by 4 pi I dl cross r by r cube. It is the vectorial representation of the Biot-Savart's law. Obviously, it is the mathematical form. This is the vectorial representation of Biot-Savart's law, giving us the expression of the magnetic field vector or induction vector, which is produced due to a small current element dl inside a current carrying conductor at any point P, which is at a distance r from the current element, where dl is the length of the current element and I is the current producing through the conductor. Now, what about the magnitude of this magnetic induction? The magnitude of this magnetic induction then is written as mu naught by 4 pi I dl sine theta by r square. Mu naught by 4 pi, from this expression you can also write, or you can convert it to vector form, that the proportionality constant is k equal to mu naught by 4 pi. We are getting it. Then I dl sine theta by r square. So magnitude wise, the Biot-Savart's law can be expressed as dB equal to mu naught by 4 pi I dl sine theta by r square for magnetic field vector or induction vector. Now, the magnitude of the induction, that is magnetic induction due to the whole conductor now. This conductor is supposed to be made up of large number of finite current elements of length, each of length dl. It is made up of large number of small such current elements. So how to get the total magnetic induction due to the whole conductor? Definitely we have to apply the principle of superposition as we did for the case of electrostatics. So That means for individual current element, we have to find out the magnetic induction, then we have to sum up. And this summation can be replaced by integration. We know for continuous distribution. So here also we are expressing according to principle of superposition the net magnetic field vector in the or induction vector produced at any arbitrary point P equal to mu naught by 4 pi integration I dl sine theta by r square. So this is according to Biot-Savart's law. Let us now move to the vectorial representation. So how to represent it vectorially? Look here. V is the magnetic field vector or magnetic induction vector. So definitely from principle of superposition integration over dV we will get. Then it will be mu naught I by 4 pi integration dl cos r by r cube. B equal to integration dB equal to mu naught I by 4 pi, then integration dl cross r by r cube. This is the vectorial representation of magnetic field or induction vector. Now it is a vector. So magnitude as well as direction must be associated with it. And in the last class on the magnetostatics, we have discussed in detail the direction of the magnetic field or induction vector in general. Now here, similarly, how to express that what should be the direction of B. The direction of magnetic induction at P is same as that of obviously dl cross R. The direction of magnetic induction at P is same as that of dl cross R, and definitely it is perpendicular to the plane containing dl and R. It is perpendicular to the plane containing dl and r. If we consider this is dl, this is r. So perpendicular to the plane containing both dl and r. So it is represented by the right-handed corkscrew rule for cross product of vectors. In detail, we have discussed it in our last class. So the direction of the magnetic induction vector P is given by right-handed corkscrew rule for cross product of vectors dl and r, and it is in the direction perpendicular to the plane containing dl and r. Now, we normally represent it by encircled cross or by encircled dot. The direction of B we normally represent by encircled cross or by encircled dot. Now, what about encircled cross? Encircled cross means when magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the board or the plane of the paper and directed into it. And what about encircled dot? It is just the opposite. That is, magnetic field B is perpendicular to the plane of the paper or the board, but is directed away from it. So, encircled cross means magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane of the paper or the board or the slide and into it. And encircled dot means it is away from it. Now, this is the direction for the magnetic field. Now, what about magnetic field intensity vector, that is H, with which you are more commonly associated? That normally we consider that magnetic field intensity means it is represented by H. I think so. So it is defined by the equation V equal to mu naught H. Actually, V is the magnetic field vector or induction vector, and H is the magnetic intensity vector. So V and H are related by V equal to mu naught H, where mu naught is the free space permeability with which already we are familiar. So here you got the expression of V. So what about the expression of H? Obviously mu naught will also not appear. Mu naught will not appear in the expression, and the magnitude is represented as H equal to 1 by 4 pi integration I dl sine theta by r square. H equal to 1 by 4 pi integration ideal sine theta by r square. That means it is independent of the surrounding medium. H is independent of the surrounding medium because mu naught is not appearing here and expressed in the unit of ampere turns per meter in SI system. H is expressed in ampere turns per meter in SI system, whereas we have seen in the last class B is expressed as Weber per meter square or Tesla. So don't confuse magnetic field vector and magnetic field intensity vector. Things are different. Let us now come to the case of the characteristic of B lines and comparison with E, that is the electric field. That means characteristic of magnetic field lines and characteristic of the electric field lines, the comparison. Because how to produce the magnetic field is now clear to us, its direction and everything is now known to us. V is also called the magnetic flux density vector. Already I mentioned few minutes back that V is a magnetic induction vector or magnetic field vector, whereas H is the magnetic field intensity vector. V is also called magnetic flux density vector at a point which represent the total number of magnetic lines of induction passing through unit area which holds perpendicularly to the lines at that point. So magnetic flux, you all know that it is nothing but the total number of magnetic lines of induction passing through some area. But V is magnetic flux density. So it is the total number of magnetic lines of induction passing per unit area which holds perpendicularly to the lines at that point. The equation of Biot-Savart's law representing B is analogous to equation of electric field E due to a point charge as given by Coulomb's law. Both are inverse square law. I think all of you can remember. Now, the status-wise Biot-Savart's law in magnetostatics is similar as Coulomb's law in electrostatics. Status wise, I am repeating Coulomb's law in electrostatics is similar as Biot-Savart's law in magnetostatics. Both are inverse square law of distance, both laws, and we can find out the magnetic field as well as electric field using the Biot-Savart's law and the Coulomb's law respectively for any type of field distribution, any kind of field distribution. That means from first principle, you can find out the electric field and magnetic field from Coulomb's law and Biot-Savart's law. That's why it is considered that Biot-Savart's law is analogous to Coulomb's law here. Now, there are few differences between them also that is very, very significant. Both of them obey inverse square law, and in both cases we have seen in the last class there are some other comparison, that is FE is parallel to E, whereas FM is perpendicular to the plane containing V. Now electrostatic force can perform the work, magnetostatic force alone cannot perform the work. And today we got the idea that Biot-Savart's law represents the magnetic field in the form of inverse square law, as Coulomb's law represents the electrostatic field in the forms of inverse square law. Now, the differences, gross differences, but very, very significant in so far as magnetic polarities are concerned. Let us now come to those points. Now, source of magnetic field, already we mentioned the current element. It is not an entity like point electric charge, the source of electric field. Source of magnetic field, we have seen just now, it is a current element. But it is not an entity similar to point electric charge, the source of electric field. The electric charge is a scalar. Why not? Why they are not same entity? Electric charge is scalar, but current element, the source of magnetic field as appearing in Biot-Savart's law, it is a vector. Electric charge in Coulomb's law appears as scalar, but current element appears in the Biot-Savart's law is a vector. There are no sources of magnetic field similar in nature to point electric charge, as no free isolated magnetic monopole exists in nature. At least till now we didn't find out it. Just take a look. In case of the electric field, we consider the electric charges, and we know there are two type of electric charges exist in nature. One is the positive charge and other is the negative charge. And they gives out the electric lines of force. From positive charge, lines of force come out, and for negative charge, lines of force enter in. So these are not continuous lines, rather than they are discrete lines. But in case of the magnetic source, it is a current element, and we don't have any free isolated magnetic monopole, that means north pole and south pole. The equivalent one for the current element does not exist in nature individually. Magnetic monopoles poles always occur in pair as known sources of magnetic field, because these are either electric current, that is a moving charge, and the permanent magnet, and both are bipolar. Both are bipolar. No isolated magnetic monopole exists like isolated point charges for electric field. In magnetic field, we don't have any isolated magnetic monopole, that is north pole and south pole, because till now the sources of magnetic field, that is the electric current, so the moving charge as well as the permanent magnets, both are found to be bipolar. Let us now find out from the Biot-Savart's law, since it is the acceptable law for so far as the magnetic field production is concerned, so whether this law can also verify that really no magnetic monopole exists. Let us now try to find out that. So, no isolated magnetic monopole exists in nature. Let us try to explore this. Now, from equation of continuity, we have found that if there is no accumulation of charge, that is under steady current condition, del dot J equal to 0. What about the equation of continuity? I think all of you can remember. It is the differential form of conservation of charge, that is del dot J plus del rho del T equal to 0. Now, if there is no accumulation of charge, that means del rho del T equal to 0, then we have seen del dot J equal to 0. So current density is solenoidal. That means line of current density are also continuous. Solenoidal means they are continuous too. Now, here in magnetostatics, as no isolated monopole exists, so it is expected that del dot B will come out as 0. That means B lines are continuous, and we will expect divergence of B to be 0. Very, very important point. I told you in the last class that I will compare the electrostatics and the magnetostatics from time to time wherever it is applicable. As no isolated magnetic monopole exists, so it is expected that del dot B equal to 0, as B lines are continuous like J lines in equation of continuity. That means we will expect the divergence of B to be 0 from Biot-Savart's law. Divergence of B to be 0 from Biot-Savart's law. Let us now explore that. So we are using the Biot-Savart's law for the purpose, which gives us the magnetic field at any point, say P, which is at a distance R, in terms of the integral over current distribution J. Now let us come here. What is told? Let us use Biot-Savart's law. The expression is known to us, but for what is the system? We are considering any arbitrary closed surfaces enclosing a volume V. We are considering an arbitrary closed surfaces enclosing a volume V. Now, inside the surface, we have kept at a point P. Inside the surface, we have kept at some point the small element of volume, say dV, where the source of current is kept in the form of the current density, that is J. which is the function of position coordinates, say x prime, y prime, z prime, known as the source point. So any infinitesimally small volume element dv is taken where the source point we are considering in the form of the current density, which is a function of x prime, y prime, z prime. We want to find out the expression for the magnetic field at P. Expression for the magnetic field at P, which is a function of the coordinates x, y, z, the so-called observation point or the field point. We are considering the effect of current density, that is source of current on a magnetic to produce a magnetic field at point P, which is the function of position coordinates x, y, z, the observation point or the field point, and the distance between them is say r. The distance between them is say r. Now Br. So Br, why? Because B will be produced at P, which is a function of x, y, and z, the position coordinates of the position vector r. So it is written as Br. Mu naught by 4 pi I dl cross r by r cube according to Biot-Savart's law we already have seen. Now ideal, what about that? It is a current element. Now ideal, the current element is representing at this point. So it is a function of x prime, y prime, z prime. That's why it is written as r prime, the position vector at the source point. Because r equal to ix plus jy plus kz, the position vector at field point, whereas r prime equal to ix prime plus jy prime plus kz prime, the position vector at the source point. So I dl cross r by r cube. Now I dl equal to j into dv, the current distribution, j into dv. I means current into the length. Now here j is the current density. So current per unit area into v is the volume. That means again current into length is coming. So we are replacing I dl by j into dv. So j at function of r prime cross r by r cube into dv. Okay. So this point this expression we are replacing by j into dv. The arrangement of writing is a little bit different, but the thing is same. Ideal, we have written j here and dv at outside. Okay. J cross r we are considering. Now let us come here. Vr equal to mu naught by 4 pi integration minus j cross grad of 1 by r. Why grad of 1 by r? Because vectorially we all know that grad of 1 by r means minus 1 by r square into r cap. Grad of 1 by r means minus 1 by r square into r cap. Now what about r cap? R vector by r. That's why grad of 1 by r means minus r by r cube. Grad of 1 by r equal to minus r by r cube. So look here, r by r cube is existing here. So that is replaced by minus grad of 1 by r because this minus sign exists here. So grad of 1 by r is representing nothing but r vector by r cube with a minus sign there into dv. Other things remaining same. Let us now take the divergence on both sides of this expression. Let us now take divergence on both sides of this expression. What about that? Del dot b. Mu naught by 4 pi integration. Then take divergence. Del dot. Take a third bracket minus j cross grad of 1 by r, then dv. Okay. So we have to take the divergence of this cross product. We have to take the divergence of this cross product to find out the value of del dot b. Now, according to the rule of vector calculus, we know del dot a cross b equal to b dot del cross a minus a dot del cross b. So according to the rule of vector calculus, we know del dot a cross b equal to v dot del cross a minus a dot del cross b. So here we are getting del dot A cross B. In our case, this is A minus J, and B is grad of 1 by R. So del dot A cross B is equal to B dot. What about B? Grad of 1 by R dot del cross A. So minus J plus minus A dot. Now what about A? Minus J. So it will be plus J dot del cross. Now what about B? Grad of 1 by R that we have written here. So this expression is represented here in terms of our parameters considered as A and B. A is minus J, B is grad of 1 by R. Now look here. The second term simply will vanish because this is curl of grad. This is curl of grad. So from the rule of vector calculus, we know curl of grad is 0. So we are getting this term to be 0. Now look at the first term. Here we are getting the curl on J. Curl on J. That means del operator derivates with respect to the field or the observation point, that is R. Del operator derivates with respect to the field or the observation point, whereas J is a function of the source point because ideal equal to J dV, which is function of x prime, y prime, z prime. I am repeating. In this part, that is the first part, del cross J. Now J is a function of x prime, y prime, z prime, the source point, and del means the derivation is done at the field point in terms of x, y, z. Naturally, this term will also cancel out. It will be a 0. So del cross of minus J equal to 0 as del operator derivates with respect to the field or observation point R, whereas J is a function of source point only. That means both the terms will vanish here and we will get del dot B to be 0. So del dot B, we found out it, del dot B to be 0. So we are concluding that there is no isolated magnetic monopole exists. So let us now come to this physical significance of this expression, that is del dot B equal to 0, what we got from Biot-Savart's law. First thing is that you integrate it over a volume V, that is del dot B dV equal to 0 over V. Now, if we apply the Gauss's divergence theorem, we can find out B dot ds equal to 0 over a closed surfaces, because we know that Gauss's divergence theorem in terms of divergence just changes or interconverts between the surface and the volume. So S being the surface bounding the volume, so del dot B equal to 0 is converted to B dot ds equal to 0. Now what they represent? The quantity B dot ds is termed as magnetic flux, obviously, because B is the flux density. Magnetic flux to the surfaces and is measured in Weber in SI unit. Okay. Now B dot ds equal to 0. That means lines of B are continuous. The flux lines are continuous. So there is no magnetic charge or monopole on which these lines originate or terminate, which is known as Gauss's law of magnetostatics. So B dot ds equal to 0. The lines of B are continuous. So there is no magnetic charge or monopole on which these lines originate or terminate, which is known as Gauss's law of magnetostatics. Now, the field for which del dot B equal to 0 obviously is solenoidal, because the field lines close upon themselves as in the case of a field of a solenoid, and there is no net flux through any closed surface. So field for which del dot B equal to 0 is called solenoidal because the field lines close upon themselves as in the case of a field of a solenoid, and there is no net flux through any closed surface. So del dot B equal to 0 and B dot ds equal to 0 basically represent the Gauss's law of magnetostatics. It is in differential form, it is in integral form, and they also represent that isolated magnetic monopole does not exist. This is the differential form, this is the integral form. So I think you can consider them very easily and can compare with respect to the electric field. Now, let us come to few university questions which may come from today's class and the last class. Define magnetic field vector. In the last class, we have defined it. B, how to define, we have done it. Next is what is Lorentz force? Give an expression of the same, explaining the terms. So Fe plus Fm is the Lorentz force and you have to explain the terms. Next, find an expression for the force on a current carrying conductor. We have done the derivation in very detail in the last class, so all of you can do it. Next, what do you mean by Hall effect? Explain. This is also done in the last class. Can you distinguish p-type and n-type semiconductors? Obviously, yes. Then if yes, explain how in terms of the Hall effect, how to distinguish, that is also discussed in very detail. Now, today's portions. What is Biot-Savart's law in electromagnetism? We have done it. Using Biot-Savart's law, show that an isolated magnetic monopole does not exist. Few minutes back, we have done it. Next question is very interesting. Show that closed surface integration B dot ds equal to 0, where D is a magnetic field and S is a closed surface. State the theorem that you have used here. So here B is given. So B magnetic field means del dot B equal to 0. And if del dot B equal to 0, you can find out very easily B dot ds equal to 0 using the Gauss's divergence theorem. So B given means you can start with del dot B equal to 0, then take the volume integration and apply Gauss's divergence theorem. You will get B dot ds equal to 0. So state the theorem that you have used here. So you have to state the Gauss's divergence theorem. Okay. Next question is, in what respect does a wire carrying current is different from a wire which carries no current? Obviously, in the last two classes, we have discussed repeatedly that wire carrying current produces magnetic field. So wire which does not carry current, this question doesn't arise. So wire carrying current produces magnetic field around it, and wire which does not carry current, this possibility is not arising. So I think that we have discussed all the portions what we have considered to discuss at the beginning, and you understand it. So thank you, my dear students. I hope you have enjoyed the classes, and definitely we will now meet in the next class. Till then, bye. Okay.